All right. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to Customers for Life Impromptu episode number fill in the blank. And I just have to say, as I open this, I am intentionally still in my Christmas PJs because I only get to wear them this time of year, and I wanted to make sure I wore them as much as possible. We've been on coaching calls today. We've been planning world domination. We have been updating on our ads campaigns and our to-do lists and all of this type of stuff, which brings me to why I hit record at this point in Rhonda and I's conversation. And it is because we're talking about what makes our partnership work. And though it's not scheduled in the queue of what's coming up on the Customers for Life podcast, it was a perfect time for us to fulfill on a promise that we had said that we will openly share behind the scenes of.
Hey there, it's Rhonda Melogy. If you like what you're seeing, make sure to hit the subscribe button below so you know when I publish a new video, probably any minute now.
Working together, our partnership, and honestly, why I believe it works, Rhonda just explained. And I don't want to ruin the surprise of what we're going to talk about, but it really comes down to one thing. And I need you to understand this in the beginning of this episode, because we're going to dive deeper into it with some stories that Rhonda just shared. And I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to cry. But it comes down to completely leaving your ego at the door, embracing each other's zone of genius, and letting each other completely soar. At some point, there's going to be someone who clears the runway and guides the traffic, and then there's other times where you are that person that you are stepping in your zone of genius and leading the way. And it's a delicate dance, but I feel like there is no competition. And that to me was the biggest thing that Rhonda just shared. And I was like, we probably should push record and go ahead and share the behind the scenes of Hop Mama Enterprises and why it works. So there's your opening, Rhonda. How did I do?
Well, I think you did amazingly, and I kind of teared up myself. And I think, the way our partnership started, I distinctively remember being on the front porch when we were having the conversation, and Cassie's like, I'm all in. And I'm like, this feels very, not with Cassie, like all of the details felt so overwhelming to me that I was like, I can't do this right now. And I guess there were just small steps that we took after that. I mean, I think this year has been a year of small steps every single day. And when we decided to become partners, it happened effortlessly. And we both just had this vision of what this year would be. And I think a lot of that has come true. We've had some surprises, we've had some disappointments, but I was talking with my husband, and this is kind of where we started talking before we hit record. My husband, he is the creative. He is a visionary, whether he identifies that way or not. And the way that our relationship works, having just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary, is he has the vision. Together we do implement that, but like the steps to make that vision happen, that's my job. And I love doing that. And this morning, Daniel was talking about a couple of different things, and I just out loud said, I was like, I know that I will always be partners with Cassie Brown because she's the female version of you. And it's so interesting, like if you knew like where they grew up, where they went to school, very close to each other in Florida, so many things are so similar. It literally is like, we are married now, Cassie. But I never in our relationship seen Cassie as a competition. I've never seen her as someone where I need to hold back. I want to elevate her more, because when I can elevate her, like that, what is that? I can never get those things right. Like,
Oh, the rising tide lifts all ships.
yeah, that, but I experienced that in working with her. She, I'm sure she gets mad at me, and she hasn't told me. I'm sure she's had words, but Cassie is very much like Daniel. I mean, she is so easygoing, and it just is it's a natural relationship. But I also feel, Cassie, that we both work on that relationship. And because of the steps that we've taken, we get more in our lane, so to speak, even more. There are things that she does that, yeah, I could do. I can't do them like Cassie Brown. And so part of that partnership is I can lean into her. I also feel sometimes we've had conversations and I have felt bad, like I've been the negative Nancy and I haven't had an abundant mindset. But I know having the conversation with Cassie, it will turn things around for me, or she will open up a new perspective while she's in the trenches with me, probably feeling the same thing.
Yeah. I think there is a beauty of honest conversation. So when we talk about what makes partnerships work, we've covered zone of genius. I think there's one that goes without saying: match and exceed my energy and commitment. We've both been in unbalanced collaborations, partnerships, experiences. Like, I'm sure everyone listening at some point in their life can look back on, whether it's personal or business relationships, where it's like, wow, yeah, I kind of did carry a lot of the load. But I think where both of us have grown is realizing sometimes we didn't give the other people a choice where we were carrying most of the load. So we're forcing the choice upon them, and we're also growing in, bitterness and resentment. So like, we caused and created and are feeding the problem. So it's that level of personal responsibility that I think that we both come to the table with, where, how can I look at everything as an opportunity to improve communication? And it's interesting that you mentioned that, when you feel like you're being a negative Nancy, and, there's sometimes where, she'll say something and I'll just say, oh my gosh, Rhonda, sometimes I just want to say what the F too. But it's one of those things that she needs to process externally, where I've done a lot of processing internally. But that's not to say my way's better or different or whatever like that. But she also needs to experience me processing externally for her to feel like I'm not alone in this frustration. Right. So it is, I think this was early on when we first started working together. I remember telling you, because you were frustrated over a situation, and I can't even remember what the particular situation was. And you're like, and I don't even want to be dragging you down because you're focused on da 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 da. And I do remember this part of the conversation where I said, well, if I'm committed to being partners, then it's the good and the bad and the ugly. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to me about the bad and the ugly, then there's something that we need to work on communication wise, because I'm not judging, I'm receiving, I'm finding ways to improve, whether it's a product or service, whether it's something internally that we can do as a company, whether it's something that we can improve as individuals. And I think when you come at problems like that, a lot of the triggering things where in the past, what happens is, I did something wrong, I need to protect myself. And I think when we talk about leaving ego at the door, we approach every conversation with, whether it's, I have this idea, let's hear me out, da 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 da, where it's like, there's this level of respect and seeking understanding, that questions don't offend. Feelings don't put us into a box where I'm like, gosh, Rhonda, you're negative all the time, because that would be so untrue. right? And it is interesting, the parallel of dynamics where you've got your personal relationship with Daniel. And it's funny because Rhonda, I've watched the relationship between Rhonda and my husband grow because he is the male version of Rhonda. He is the one with all of our spreadsheets and with all of our finances and with all of this. And he is the one that lovingly lifts me up and lets me be creative. It's so interesting to see how our partners have fueled the beauty of what each of our gifts are. And now we see it reflected in each other. So all of that to say, there is definitely several layers here to look for when you're looking to partner or when you're in a partnership. But I will say, the biggest thing that I avoided for a really, really long time was that inner voice of, this feels uncomfortable. This isn't going the right way, or don't say it this way, or just don't, it was a continuous, like, expansive chasm that never really healed. And I will say that in communication, when we both feel like there's something that we need to communicate, like, it's communicated, and it's not a personal attack or anything. It's just, I need your opinion on this, or I'd like you to focus on this, or I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Can you take care of 1, 2, 3? I will say, like, communication has been one of the things that has been the easiest thing to get into flow, but it also does mirror right back to the first topic that we talked about, is letting go of ego. There is no competition. Rhonda's a freaking genius, and I get to be a genius too. And our genius together, it's just like multiplied, magnified, amplified 9 ways till infinity. And it's beautiful and amazing, because the business that we have today didn't even exist like several months ago, where we're going and what we're putting faith in. And I told Rhonda the other day, she had asked me a question, and I was like, okay. And she's like, that's it. That's all you need. I'm like, yeah. When you see it and you've made the projections, I accept it as reality, and it's go to work time. And she was like, yeah, it's as easy as that.
Well, I was just, when you were talking about, I was just taking a couple of notes, because a couple of things have come up for me while you were talking. And one was communication. So typically, we're on client calls and things like that during the week. And we don't really have, like, you and I don't have meetings per se. We just like chat throughout the day. But give us a good weekend and a good messenger thread, and that's where, like, fire. And I told her the other day, I was like, we don't even need to talk. Let's just, like, wait till the weekend and let things flow. And I think it's because, like, we relax, and I, like, feed her something. Like, she was like, do we need this? I'm like, no, I think we're good. What about this? No, I think, and what about this? What about this? What about this? It's interesting. Like, when we're blocked, I know for me, when I'm blocked, like, we were on a call on Tuesday with Heather, and I had been blocked. I was like, I just can't see this. And when I say that I'm visual, oh, friends, we just need pictures, because when I can see the picture and things become unblocked, it's game time. And I think that flow, then, whatever that friction point was up to that point, when it was unblocked, which really just came from conversation. So if you don't have a partner, doesn't mean like your business is weak or you can't get to a certain point. I would highly, highly, highly recommend, whether that's a paid community or it's you get a group of women or men and women, whatever that looks like for you, that you can confide in. Because one of the sayings that we have is optimization comes from conversation. I was walking City today, and I was like, dang it worked again. Yesterday we had a conversation. And now we are optimizing and I am soaring again. And I think that there's just a lot of highs and there's just a lot of lows. And if you don't have someone that you can confide in and trust that understands what that journey looks like, it makes it 10 times harder. But the flow definitely in communication on the weekends, I kind of look forward to it. Like I like to be kind of quiet and then all of a sudden like it just like fires. The other thing that I will say, and this hurt my heart, is that I saw it and I saw it on her face. So Cassie has made a digital product. And I think, you know, there are points in your relationship that you remember. And she was so proud. And she said, I'm a digital product creator. And I laughed at her. And I still feel so bad that I laughed at you because she was so proud of herself. And I think I feel so bad that I cried, that I laughed at her because it meant so much. And I didn't realize how much that meant to her. It still hurts me. That's why I'm crying right now. Because I see her bigger than she is. And the fact that she did not realize that about herself is why I laughed. Because I'm like, oh my God, friend, are you kidding me? Like, I don't even touch our graphics anymore. I don't touch our messaging anymore. I don't touch that stuff. That's the Kaci Brown. That's the Kaci Brown space. And the way that Kaci Brown came about as becoming a digital product maker was we have a Trello board and we have a checklist, and Kaci has a checklist. And when you can stay focused and be clear and stay in your zone, you implement like nobody's business. And that was a huge transformation. And I probably, like, throughout our relationship together, Kaci, will always regret that I laughed at you. I never, it just hurts me.
Oh my gosh. No. Like I didn't take it that way whatsoever. So like whatever guilt or replay that you're replaying and experiencing, that was not my experience whatsoever. I honestly don't even remember you laughing. I think I was still in such a shock, accepting the reality that I created a digital product, but I created a digital product because Rhonda said I could. I think that was the biggest thing. And it's like what I think we both bring to the table is that unique perspective of what I see in Rhonda and what she's capable of, right? I'm outside. I can see everything. I can see the full potential. And she gives me that same gift. Like there wasn't like that was the thing. Like the moment that you sent me that and was like, do you think that we can make this? I'm like, yeah, I can make this. What I didn't say is you have faith in me that I can create this. And that is all I needed to literally go full steam ahead, because everything else didn't matter. I respect Rhonda at the level of the game that she's played, the business that she's built. Like we were recording a few episodes back and like there's things that don't even sink in where, you know, when she talks about the seasonal sale and like 200 or 300 volunteers, these are volunteer that you rally and you give people direction. And when you start dealing with hundreds of people who are not getting paid, like there's so much there that is going unsaid. They are motivated. They are aligned in the vision. They have clear, confident instructions. And it's like, she did that same thing with me for a digital product. And now outside of the digital product, we have a whole system behind us supporting it. That is a whole nother revenue stream for our business that legit could retire all of us that didn't even exist a handful of months before. So when I look at this and in the context of what this episode is about, you know, with collaborations and partnerships, is when two or more people come together and they create something that could have never existed otherwise, that is when you know it's a yes. That is when you know everyone's coming to the table with their A game, and what you create together is infinitely more powerful and impactful than anything that you could have ever done alone.
Boom. But yes, checklist to all of that. Yes, it may feel like that. So there's the honeymoon phase. And then there is like, we're in it together phase. And then there'll be some friction point phases. Not that we had friction, like the business was feeling friction that we had to experience together. It was like the outside world, and it wasn't against us. I don't know how best to describe that, but friction points, because if you're not honest and say that your business has friction, I just go simple. I mean, there are friction points, and okay, thank you for that experience. I've learned from that. And then we continue to move on and we're stronger. It's interesting. Our business right now, it is like a completely 360 at a different year. We are at a different, we are different. We are different now than when we first started. But I'm thankful for all of those steps that brought us to where we are today. Because I know, oh my gosh, what we're capable of together. And so 2023 is looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's interesting in looking at the path where you realize there's a door that opens and there's an opportunity. And so if you are listening and you're considering, collaboration or partnership or anything like that, it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like if there's a couple projects that you work on together, and so I feel like that's sort of where we started, where there was, we were coaching in a program together, and I came out of nowhere, and I probably had this story. I remember the first time I met Rhonda, I'm like, I better have my shit together because she's running this whole program and she's got this dialed in. She is the queen of systems. I have seen her Trello boards, and guess what? Cassie is nowhere near that organized. And so I'm coming in with a completely different perspective, but we worked on that. I'm looking at that as a project. I mean, we worked on that project together. And we made it something phenomenal, with Rhonda and her zone of genius, and me and my zone of genius, and the outcomes of everybody that was involved were the better for it. So we take that same blueprint and then we apply it to sort of like Hot Mama Enterprises 1.0. And then we realize, okay, there's things that could be simpler. There's things that we could do better. Like, how long did we struggle to get everything on the right calendar between yours, mine, our, like, that was one of those things where Rhonda was like, I am the master of systems and I can't even make sure our calendars are coordinated. Like that was, if Rhonda was a drinking woman, that would have been a drinking weekend.
That is, for whatever reason, I don't know. Like, so like she's a systems girl, but she can't manage a calendar. I can manage a calendar. However, calendars make me crazy. Like schedules, that makes me crazy. That did make me crazy. But what you brought up was, and that's really interesting and probably like a huge pearl, like takeaway. So when you said like working on a project together, it wasn't, and we even talked about this. Okay. We even talked about this week in our program, where we are like, whatever the thing is that we're working on, we could be in our basement and like the next day we're on the kiosk at Target. It does not happen that way. Partnerships, it needs to be perfect and everything needs to be built out immediately because we are going global like the next day. And I think working on that project together, what that allowed me to see and really shifted me was you and your zone. Even though I was in that program and running the program, you came in and it's like, I think we're going to do it this way. I was like, the conservative, like step by step girl is like, I don't think it's going to work. And you're like, I think it's going to. We're doing it. Here's my Zoom link. And so, but watching her, so we did, that's how we started. And then it was like, watching her, then I was like, well, I think maybe and I did it too. I did it her way. And then, which made me a better person. And then I was like, I think we need to be on the same call. Can we do that? And so then we were on the same call and we had an event and I saw those transformation and what that investment of everyone in that program was. Not a financial investment. Financial investment, schmeshment. It was the soul commitment that these folks were bringing to the table and the transformations that were being made. So interestingly, like I'm thinking about this still now, going back to the parallel with Daniel, like we were friends first and then we kind of dated and then we got married. And it's the same thing that I say with us. It's like, don't jump in and think everything is going to be perfect. I told you, I remember that day on the porch. I even came in. I'm not going to partner with her. It was too much. It was too heavy because the systems person, like, we have to have a contract. We have to have this. How is that going to work? Well, what is she going to do about this part? What am I going to do about that part? And it stifles all of that beautiful creativity and energy and things that can become. You get in your head. You don't talk to your dream customer. You sell nothing. And you still wonder why you're not making any progress. I see it time in, time out. Someone laughed. I was like, in a post that I did, I said, dream big, implement faster. Cassie Brown, did that just like pierce your heart? I hope it did, because she drops these things all the time. And I'm like, that just dropped for me. But dream big, implement faster. The only way to achieve that dream is how fast we can implement. That does not mean hustle. That means implementing on the core of the idea. And just because there's two of us does not necessarily mean that we can move faster. It means that we collectively do come together. We can bat one another off one another, and Cass can go do her thing. I can do my thing, and we do bring it together and go with it. And so I think this was a really important episode to have, because I don't think that there are a lot of business partnerships, obviously, but I don't hear a lot of conversations at how they started and like what makes them tick and kind of the behind the scenes of them.
Yeah. And in all honesty, like I was seeking that out for so long. Ron and I have mentioned before, we've had business partners before. And I was literally like always seeking that out. How do I better communicate? How do we stay in our zones of genius? How do we organize? How do we systematize? How to like an infinite list. And so that has been one of the most beautiful things about this is I don't have any of those questions anymore. We just do. We don't have like a Robert's rules of engagement or hierarchy or anything like that, where it's like, I move or I motion to do this. It's just, we both hold space for each other to share and listen to the ideas. And it's not always a yes, 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 yes. The one thing that I think of that I love most about Rhonda is she's like, Cassie, I just need you to focus on this. Right. Like that's the biggest thing is where I can be a million steps ahead, but what really needs to be executed is this. Right. So I hope this has been helpful for you wherever you're at in your business journey, if you're considering partnerships, collaborations, or anything like that. And the way that I look at it is honestly, I don't want you to segment yourself as as you're listening to this where, oh, I'll never be a business partnership, or I do want to be a business partnership. I honestly look at business and the way that we serve our clients is we are a strategic partner in all that we do with our clients. These lessons that Rhonda and I carry with the way that we communicate with each other and the way that we communicate with the team is exactly the way that we communicate with our clients. It's respectful, it's loving, it's honest. Sometimes it stings. Sometimes it makes me wiggle a little bit because I have to figure out a way to deliver a message where it's constructive and it moves us all forward. And sometimes we have to receive feedback in the way that we deliver or communicate or provide assets or serve our clients. And I think that is what a beautiful partnership does, is it creates that environment for continual growth. But like in a challenging way. It's not always all rainbow, sunshine, and butterflies. And that's who I want by my side when we're looking at growing and we're looking at expanding and we're looking at putting more impact into the world. I want someone who is that ride or die, that one that is also like, no, I don't think we should focus over there on that, or you're getting distracted over there, but that I know is all in and loves me enough to be honest and also dream big and implement faster, right? Like what a beautiful way to wrap everything up, Rhonda. Thank you.
I was thinking about the time when we were in Asheville and you're like, hold on. And I said my say, which is so out of character. And you just busted out and you pushed the gas and we were down the road. So we don't really have any resources or anything. I guess, what you could do is you could go over to freedomtoimpact.com and click the About page. And on the About page, you will hear more about how Hot Mama, the name itself, came about. So there's all kinds of resources there on the website, on the gorgeous website that we did not have 360 days ago. So it took us that long. It was such an ugly baby at the beginning of the year, because that's not me. We need to do another episode about the photographs that are on that website though, too. That'd be a good episode.
Okay. Yep. So we'll make a mental note. I know Rhonda's right now is adding that to our little list of things to do. And that's what I love about her, because I don't have to carry it around in my head. But I will give a little bit more of a firm and aggressive call to action. I will say we have a couple of programs that are going to be opening up soon. And one of them we opened up and we've shared about on the podcast. It's called Systems of Scale. The other one we've shared a little bit. It's called about Elevate. And we are taking applications right now because we're going to build it out the exact same way that we've built out every single offer in our business. And that's one conversation at a time. And it is getting ready to go into internal launch. It's not open to the public yet. So if you hear this and you're interested in it, send us a message, right? hello@freedomtoimpact.com. Just send us an email, say, hey, yes, I listened to the podcast and I'm really interested in what you guys are working on. And I'm not going to get into all of the bells and whistles of what the program consists of, because we're really looking for alignment right now, alignment of where people are in their business, what their intention is to grow their business, to simplify their life and what they want to create with their time and their talent and stay in their zone of genius, but also contribute at a level that they never really thought would be possible for them. And I want this to be one of the greatest opportunities that people have to build with us at the foundation of Systems of Scale and of Elevate, because I have big goals of impact and I want to partner. And it's so interesting. I'm not saying this word lightly. I want to partner with people that share the same vision of what they truly put out into the world, that they believe, that they serve with all of their heart, and they create consistent results and they care about their clients at every single level. Those are the business that we want to install these core 4 systems of scale in and be that strategic partner to get them to the next level of impact. So if that's you, send us a message. There will be a link up on the website soon. There will be blog posts and all of that good stuff, but you guys are literally listening and watching behind the scenes and play by play of everything that we're creating. So that is my call to action for you, is if this resonates with where you're going and where your vision is with your business, we would love to help serve you get there faster.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending some time with us today. Click the link. It's the first link. We make it super simple for any of the tools and resources that we talked about in today's video, helping you make it easy for your freedom to impact.